Sports Talk fans, welcome to another installment of Sports Talk in the Burgh. I'm here with my cast of panelists Bethany Nottam, Nate Breisinger, and Casey Irwin, and let's get right into it. On Sunday, the Aces won the first major title in Las Vegas history. With that being said, what did you take away from the Aces' 5-game victory? Bethany?
I thought it was a really incredible game, actually. They won 78-71. They had an incredible duo of Kelsey Plum and Elijah Wilson. Their record from last year and this year was pretty good. I thought they did really well.
Yeah, what really showed with Becky Hammond in her first year as head coach, she was made the highest paid WNBA coach of all time, former player, and she has been incredible. The team took the league by storm, and it showed why she was paid so much money. And with her as head coach, Chelsea Gray, who was the Finals MVP, she said that the bonds felt closer and tighter. So with that team now, they could definitely bring more success to Vegas, which Vegas, they've got a lot of sports teams, but this is one of the few that's done anything with it.
Yeah, Vegas is an up-and-coming sports town, and the sweep over the Connecticut Sun, big time for Las Vegas, and maybe it's the start of something special in Vegas with all the teams coming into the area.
Was it a sweep or was it 3-1? I feel like it was 3-1.
No, I think you're right. It was 3-1.
Yeah. See, I know my stuff about WNBA.
Keeping it on the topic of Sunday, the 49ers lost starting quarterback Trey Lance and went down with a season-ending injury. This means Jimmy Garoppolo is back under center for the Niners. Is this better for them, Nate?
Well, I like Trey Lance. I like the pick they took with him, years ago with the 49ers, but Jimmy G took them to a Super Bowl. So I think, he has the characteristics to lead this team. It's not as tough as a division as it used to be. I think the Rams have taken a step down surprisingly because, they're coming off a Super Bowl win. Obviously, the Seahawks aren't where they used to be, and the Cardinals, who knows what's up with them. So I think the 49ers, with Jimmy G at the helm, they still can be really good.
Yeah, me personally, I don't like Trey Lance that much. He came out of North Dakota State, a state that half the time I forget exists. And, the last quarterback that came out, a high pick from North Dakota State, was Carson Wentz. Yikes.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, but I just think, Jimmy Garoppolo has what it takes to move this team through this division and win them big games.
I think he's pretty average, like you both said. He has some expectations. Last year he did have 12 interceptions. 12 interceptions. When you do want to be as a quarterback, you still want to be in the single digits. So there's still kind of things you want to look about. So that's still kind of.
Yeah, I never really understood the Jimmy G hate myself. I
agree.
The fact of the matter is, the offense runs better with him at the helm, and he just wins games. It's that simple. And as a 49ers fan, that has to be what you're most interested in.
See, my question is, when are the 49ers going to become 50ers? Just something to consider. Keeping it on the gridiron, the Steelers lost to the Patriots 17-14. Rookie wide receiver showed his frustration in the offense, saying, quote, "I just say that because I'm a big man that runs in the low 4.4s, I always have to step on somebody, and my step is naturally longer than the other person. And I'm actually fast. I'm always going to have to step and always feel like 99% of the time I'm open, even though the ball gets there in the air and gets time to catch back up. But I'm open as soon as I get off the line. Who do you think is to blame? Mitch Trubisky or Matt Canada?" Casey?
Well, Mitch Trubisky has been average at best. I still think most of the blame falls on Matt Canada. When he was hired, I didn't like it. I thought it was a great chance to bring someone new and fresh in the organization, preferably someone younger that can bring the new type of offense that the league's been going into. But no, they didn't. They promoted him to offensive coordinator. And, his last name's Canada. He clearly doesn't know the sweet taste of freedom because he has no freedom with the offense. Mitch Trubisky said he can't even call audibles. Come on.
That's a fair point, but I agree. I'm going to go more. It's definitely more towards Matt Canada. You have Trubisky in his first year with the Steelers, and he feels like he's not able to open up the playbook. He said in an interview this week that they're not giving him the routes to throw it downfield to guys like George Pickens. They have the weapons to do so. And Mitch Trubisky's not a bad quarterback. He could throw it downfield. So let him do so. And so I don't blame Trubisky. It's his first year with the Steelers. Obviously, it's a new offense, but let him throw the ball.
I'm also going to just echo with what you both said. Before I did blame Trubisky, because he did clarify, at a press conference, September 18th, that he wants to create a long ball pass in the game. And then, but like, honestly, the offense hasn't been doing that well. So that kind of falls back on the coach. So.
I mean, Trubisky, though, I mean, he's number 2 overall for a reason. And sometimes he has bad reads. He overthrows some players. But still, when he isn't given the plays and the options that he wants to take, he's not going to be able to do anything with it. I'm pretty sure in the first 2 games, the Steelers haven't completed a 20-yard pass over the middle. I mean, seriously, the offense is not going to do well if we can't do anything down the middle.
Yeah, you also have Pat Freiermuth and Zach Gentry. Use them. Just use them. Throw the ball down the field.
The Steelers weren't the only AFC North team that ended with a team in the loss column. The best of the division lost as well. What team had the worst game on Sunday? Casey?
Well, I think I got to say the Browns. I mean, the Bengals were close. I mean, they lost to Cooper Rush, but the Cowboys still have, pieces around him that can work with, and a great defense. I mean, but it's the Jets. How do you let up 13 points in 90 seconds to the Jets, who have literally
Joe Flacco.
Washed 37-year-old Joe Flacco, and the Jets who've been the worst franchise in the last 5 years along with the Giants? I mean, how's that happen?
I just have to say it's impressive for the Browns to do it. They keep doing it over and over and just losing. Obviously, they've had a few decent seasons in years past with Baker Mayfield, but now you have the Jets coming in, you have the opportunity to get a win, and then they just come back in the end. And also, you've got to get the onside kick. That's obviously, I mean, that's simple fundamentals. Get that onside kick, you don't have to worry about the last drive of the game where Joe Flacco hit Garrett Wilson, the rookie wide receiver. So I agree, that game was not good. And I think also go back to the Steelers. The Steelers, that game, defense played well. So the offense just has to hit. And, again, Matt Canada just has to call better plays.
Albert Pujols' cruelty has 698 home runs with 2 weeks left in the year. Do you think he will hit a career milestone, Bethany?
I think he will. He's only 2 home runs away. He's hitting 2.65, 3.38, and 5.35, and he slugged 19 home runs in a mer of 94 games. So I think he has a really good chance of hitting his 700th home runner. So I think he's pretty good.
I mean, he's a slugger. I think it happens. I mean, he's hit a lot of home runs this year over his career. So I think those type of guys, they know how to get it done. Like, they're just Albert Pujols will get there before the end of the year.
Yeah, they got 13 games left, and as much as I don't like the Cardinals, I'm really rooting for him to go ahead and get that 700 mark. It's such a great story because he's one of the few big hitters that have been up in this league of around 700 homers that hasn't tested positive for any performance-enhancing drugs. So that's just really nice to see that there are still players out there in the game that can be so successful without doing anything except hard work.
Yeah, and it's awesome to see also that he started with the Cardinals, went to Anaheim with the Angels, and then gets to finish his career with the Cardinals and potentially hit that milestone.
Keeping it on the diamond, the Angels will miss the playoffs for the 8th straight year. With arguably 2 of the best players in the league with Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani, if you were the Angels GM, what move would you make?
I think it's been incredible that they haven't been able to make the playoffs over 8 years, and they started the season firing their manager after a terrible start. And you have guys like Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani, and both of those are MVP guys. And who we just talked about, Pujols was on that team for several years. The fact that they just continually miss the playoffs, I know they also have a tough division out there, but they need to find a way. They need to find some pitching, some relief pitching. The hitting needs to also get better surrounding Trout and Ohtani.
Honestly, I think that both of them should try to request trades because I don't think the franchise, similar to the Pirates, not as much as the Pirates, but I don't think they really care about winning that much. They just like the money. And so, I mean, Mike Trout definitely, for him, he's already 31 years old. He's going to be out of his prime years. So I think for him, at least, he needs to try to request a trade as soon as possible if he wants any chance at a ring.
I feel like the owner keeps on making questionable decisions, and they're also not surrounding their star players with other good players. And Aaron Judge, he should be a transfer. So
Transfer.
When we come back from break, we're going to break down the biggest stories in college around the country. Stay tuned.
It's been difficult because I hadn't been able to see my grandchildren.
I can't wait to get back to field trips with my school.
Not having to think about putting on a mask.
I really can't wait to get back to life, really.
I miss all my friends. I miss taking pictures in school.
An expression on someone's face when you do something nice for them.
COVID-19 vaccines are available, and they're the first step to safely getting back to things we miss most. Visit getvaccineanswers.org so you can make an informed decision about COVID-19 vaccines.
Imagine being fired because of who you love. Imagine being denied medical treatment because of who you marry. Imagine being evicted because of who you are. Millions of Americans don't have to imagine this. They have to live it. Because in 30 states, it's legal to discriminate against LGBT people.
It's time to make an informed decision about COVID-19 vaccines. The dangerous new Delta variant is more than twice as contagious as the original virus and can affect anyone. Right now, 9 out of 10 hospitalizations and deaths from COVID are among unvaccinated people. Getting vaccinated might save your life, and there's now an option that's fully approved by the FDA. Learn more at getvaccineanswers.org.
Honorary Forest Ranger Betty White here, lending a hand to my dear friend Smokey Bear, because for years he's only said,
only you can prevent wildfires.
But there's a lot more to say. Like, if you park your car on tall, dry grass, the hot exhaust pipe can start a wildfire. So keep the animals safe, especially the cute shirtless one. Go to SmokeyBear.com to learn more about wildfire prevention.
Welcome back, Sports Talk fans. Let's get into college football. Penn State is off to a 3-0 start after their win against Auburn. Fox Sports' Joe Klatt said on his podcast, quote, Penn State's a dangerous team, and beating Auburn's a quiet statement win for the Nittany Lions. And James Franklin of USC, who did that Purdue game, came away from that game thinking to ourselves, they haven't fixed their main issues. And now, guess what? Penn State has fixed their main issue. Do you agree with Klatt? Are they a legit contender for the title this year? Nate, what are you thinking?
I do think they're a legit team. I don't know if they'll find their way into the college football playoff because, as always, they got to get through Ohio State and Michigan and the other Big Ten teams. But what Joe Klatt said in that quote that I find interesting, he said it was a quiet statement win. I think that's a big statement win. You're going into an SEC school who historically is pretty good. I know their program's a little bit, rocky right now, but you dismantled Auburn at their home stadium in front of a sold-out crowd. I think that's a big statement win for Penn State, and I think they're on the road to potentially doing something big this year.
All right, I'm going to have to disagree with you on that one. Because they have two easy opponents coming up. They have Central Michigan, and then they have the Northwestern Wildcats.
Yeah, so does everyone.
Okay, those are two easy components coming up.
Yeah, so does every team in the nation.
Okay, but still.
And they only get 3 non-conference, and one of them was Auburn, and they beat them, which is big time. Because SEC football obviously tops everyone.
I don't care about Auburn at all. Like, literally zero. Nothing. I mean, how old is Sean Clifford? Like 30 or something? He's a grown man, sorry quarterback. He's going to be working a 9-to-5 job in a couple years because he's not going to the league.
I want to say he's a sorry quarterback. I mean, obviously he's improved over his years. Look at Kenny Pickett, who was a 5th year last year. He obviously took a team to a title.
He's a 6th year, and he stinks.
No, he's not.
They almost lost to Purdue, which is, they almost lost to Purdue. And you know who Purdue lost to? Syracuse. That's like losing to Duke in football.
I don't think our panelists like Penn State very much. They about ripped them to shreds. The NBA has lowered their eligible draft age to 18, but the NCAA has said that they will keep the one-and-done rules. Bethany, as a student athlete, what do you think of this ruling?
I think it's a dumb idea if they get rid of the rule because look at LeBron James. He and Kobe Bryant, they were the first-round picks straight out of high school, and then the NBA teams can have the top prospectors and proper trainer and conditioning programs immediately after getting drafted, so that also can help.
Well, yeah, I don't like the rule going because there's a lot of kids in high school with all the social media stuff. They're going to be real confident about themselves to go straight into the league and dominate, when really the reality is not everyone's LeBron James. They're going to need that at least 1 year in college to develop and grow as a player. So that way, when they are finally ready for the league, not only do the coaches and teams get better basketball, but we as fans will get better basketball and better games to watch.
Yeah, and I think even going on to Kobe Bryant, Bethany, you mentioned him. I'm reading a book currently, I know somehow I read, but it talked about his immaturity level when he first got into the league. He spent years where the coaches and players could not stand him because his immaturity level was low. He wasn't buying into a system. I think sometimes that's what you miss when you don't go to college. So, I think the idea of the one-and-done rule still existing is good.
Also, it would be nice to see not everyone in the league being a total doofus. Mm-hmm. So,
Me personally, I'm surprised that Breisinger has picked up a book that isn't by Dr. Seuss. We'll now go to Tweet of the Week. This tweet is by Ben Scott Stevens, who said the quote, Michigan might have the easiest schedule in all of college football. This year, 8 home games, non-con schedule, Colorado State, Hawaii, UConn, their combined 2021 records being 10 and 27. This schedule might be truly biblical, end quote. The quote is Michigan's schedule is too easy. Nate, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I have to agree. I mean, you only get 3 non-conference games, and you don't schedule any tougher opponents than that. I mean, Colorado State, they're in the Pac-12, I believe. Maybe, I don't even know. And you have UConn and you have Hawaii. Those are 2 teams that you can just throw away. I mean, most teams usually have 2 teams that are cupcake teams, but the fact that your whole non-conference schedule is like that, it's kind of ridiculous. I mean, because Michigan, you want to see some of those other opponents come in and play them. I mean, schedule Alabama during the regular season. Why not?
You can't just keep playing basketball schools if you really want to be a successful team and prove to people that you are a contender to be.
I would have to agree. I mean, if you want to be like a big school, it's kind of pretty pathetic. Just having not like small schools, but like not good schools. So.
And it would be more of a laughingstock if they lost again to App State like they did in 07. You would rather lose to a team who's better in a Power 5 conference than Hawaii, UConn, or Colorado State. So.
Yeah. When we come back, we break down all things RMU sports. Kick back and relax and stay right there at Sports Talk in the Burgh.
Every day,
Millions of people are connected.
and even though we're overcoming obstacles,
watching each other's backs,
And banding together.
we should still make an effort.
We should still make an
to
effort.
get to know each other,
On a deeper level. Father.
cosplayer,
Mentor.
actor.
It's time we take a step forward.
It's time we take a step forward.
Come together.
And discover
How accepting our differences
can make us stronger.
Yeah! Sam, Elmo!
Oh, hey, Julia. Are you ready to play band with us? I'm going to play my clarinet.
And Elmo's gonna play his drum. Drum loud.
Oh, well, you know what to do, Julia.
Julia knows.
With Julia's autism, loud sounds can be too much.
But she still loves to make music. Play band.
Early screening for autism can make a lifetime of difference. Find out more at screenforautism.org.
If you love them enough to crawl into a play place to get them to come down, then surely you'll check nhtsa.gov/the right seat to make sure they're in the right car seat.
Can I get the now bar, please? $1. Have a good one. Got it.
Hey, what's going on?
Hey.
Let me get a now bar.
Sure. $1.
Appreciate you.
Got it.
Welcome back, folks, to Sports Talk in the Burgh. Now we're headed into RMU news. This week, let's start with women's soccer. The team was undefeated going into their first Horizon League road test of the year, starting unbeaten. They lost 9-1. What do you guys think of this performance against Milwaukee?
My jaw dropped when I saw the final score. I clicked on, I'm pretty sure the tweet said, we'll live to see another day. I clicked on the tweet and I saw 9-1. I was like, holy cow. This team looked very good to start their non-conference schedule. They tied against Green Bay at home. Now it was their first road game of the year, so maybe that had something to do with it, traveling, maybe late night traveling. But 9-1, that's just surprising because Isabella Bolin, who's their goalkeeper, has played very well this year so far. And they've played some easier teams non-conference, but they've also seen some tougher opponents. I was just shocked.
Yeah, I think what it is that Coach Shaw finally has been able to build a program up from the foundation he started with in 2019, and now it's the pieces around him that the team can really succeed now. And a few games earlier where they had 28 shots in the game. The only thing is, though, that they only scored 5 goals. So if they want to succeed against the tougher teams that they'll play in the Horizon League, they have to be more clinical in the final third.
I feel like it was just like a bumpy start. Like you know, just like how the men's soccer team, like, you know, just a little bump in the road. And, like, I feel like, you know, it's going to pull back up. And, yeah.
And to be fair, I mean, if you want to say this, I mean, RMU was selected as the last place team in the Horizon League pool to start the year, so maybe they're not expected to be that great, but a 9-1 win shouldn't happen on the road.
To the contrary of this, the men's soccer team won 5-0 to the Panthers over the weekend. What did you see that you liked from the men's soccer squad?
Well, what I see is that for this team, wherever Chase Gilly goes, team is going to follow. He scored a hat trick, and even today scored the only goal for the team to win against St. Francis. So if something happens with him, injury-wise, whatever, then the attack's going to suffer. But the also thing is that they've had 2 consecutive shutouts now, so the defense, especially with the goalkeeper, I mean, his name's blanking on me right
Frederick
now.
Petrelli, yeah.
I mean, he's also been incredible. So as long as they can stay solid in the back, then the midfield and attack will feel much more confident to take the risk that they can take, so they'll score more goals.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to add. Frederick Petrelli has played really well, you know, in this part of the season so far in the conference segment of the year. And he was just named Horizon League co-player of the year or co-player of the week with Chase Gilly. So I mean, the Colonials really showing out so far in the Horizon League. And you know, same thing as Shaw for the women's team. Jason O'Keefe has come in and he's starting to put the pieces together, and they're starting to show, you know, in the conference that they can be a competitor. They made the playoffs last year for the first time in a while. So this team, maybe they're a team to look out for with the additions of the Gilly twins, you know, the transfers coming into the program.
Obviously, we saw, like, the men's soccer team. They had a really rough start in the beginning. Like, they obviously improved. Like, they had players like Chase Gilly, as you said, Calvin Ramirez, Hugo. They've really been stepping up. Always, their offense has been really improving, and their defense has been really good. So overall, they have had a huge improvement over the last couple of games, and they just won today too. So they've been doing good.
There were a lot of great performances from RMU athlete this past week. Who was your athlete of the week?
Well, for me, I have to say that it would have to be Annie Monaco for the women's volleyball team. And I've been looking at the poll, and her teammate, Emma Brown, she has been dominating the poll. But
for Colonial Sports Network poll,
I'm not really sure why, though, because Annie Monaco has had twice as many kills in the last week. And Emma Brown, I mean, she's played fantastic, but she only had 5 kills against Oakland. Annie Monaco had 13.
Yeah, and as we just talked, I think Frederick Petrelli for the men's soccer team has performed really well. We talked about, you know, back-to-back shutouts, getting the shutout today. As you mentioned, they beat San Francisco over the North Athletic Complex. So he has been a person, you know, backstopping the Colonials that has helped them on this winning streak.
Mine is Chase Gilly. He had a hat trick this past weekend, and he also scored, like you just said. He also had an assist at Northern Kentucky, and he has also became the second Colonial in the last 2 years that had 3 goals in the game. So that's like really huge, aside with Brandon Congo. So that's like really huge for the Colonials. So.
Well, as we finish up our show, we have one last segment, our final takes, which we will be starting right as we come back.
Because I hadn't been able to see my grandchildren.
I can't wait to get back to field trips with my school.
Not having to think about putting on a mask.
I really can't wait to get back to life, really.
I miss all my friends. I miss taking pictures in school.
An expression on someone's face when you do something nice for them.
COVID-19 vaccines are available, and they're the first step to safely getting back to things we miss most. Visit getvaccineanswers.org so you can make an informed decision about COVID-19 vaccines.
Imagine being fired because of who you love. Imagine being denied medical treatment because of who you marry. Imagine being evicted because of who you are. Millions of Americans don't have to imagine this. They have to live it. Because in 30 states, it's legal to discriminate against LGBT people.
It's time to make an informed decision about COVID-19 vaccines. The dangerous new Delta variant is more than twice as contagious as the original virus and can affect anyone. Right now, 9 out of 10 hospitalizations and deaths from COVID are among unvaccinated people. Getting vaccinated might save your life, and there's now an option that's fully approved by the FDA. Learn more at getvaccineanswers.org.
Honorary Forest Ranger Betty White here, lending a hand to my dear friend Smokey Bear. Because for years, he's only said,
Only you can prevent wildfires.
but there's a lot more to say. Like, if you park your car on tall, dry grass, the hot exhaust pipe can start a wildfire. So keep the animals safe, especially the cute shirtless one. Go to SmokeyBear.com to learn more about wildfire prevention.
Welcome back, folks. Here we are with our final takes. Today, we're going to start with Bethany.
As the WNBA season just came to a close, we should now start talking about the roster issues within the league. Each team is now allowed to sign 12 women, and there are now only being 12 teams. The league is limited to only 144 players across the entire league. This meaning most of the 36 college players that are being drafted by the WNBA each year being let go and never get any playing time. In the past few years, we've seen women's college basketball scene expanded quite a bit. So it's a shame to see so much talent go to waste. If they want to continue their professional career, they are required to leave their home and play overseas. Playing alongside the active WNBA players who are also required to play overseas due to not making enough money in the WNBA. The average salary of a current player is approximately $120,000, about the same salary as an average upper middle class working American. There are even more issues being brought up because the WNBA consumer Kathleen Albert wants to require all the players being there at the start of training camp in order to prioritize the WNBA season. Although the issue with that is the most players would still be overseas playing in their winter leagues. But if they don't come back in time, they will not be allowed to play for the entire season. Some of the top players like Brenner Stewart are unsure of what to do because they want to play in the WNBA, which is the highest level of competition for women's basketball. Yet they still need the income from playing overseas. So in order to make playing in the worthwhile, there needs to be an expansion in order for more women to have the change to play in the highest level.
So for my final take, I have to talk about the terrible actions that have gone towards the FIFA World Cup that's taking place this winter. So the FIFA decided that it should be going to Qatar. This will host the country, and that was back in 2011. And since then, over 6,500 migrant workers have died in the preparation for the stadium. There have been 7 stadiums, roadways, airports, everything that have had to be built in this country for the World Cup to happen. Now, first off, why was this country selected in the first place if all this needed to happen? And this country, the government, has not taken any accountability at all. A lot of them has been said work accidents and cause of death, and families have just been ignored. And so, I mean, it's just terrible. And I love the World Cup so much, so it's sad to see that whenever I'll be thinking about watching the games, and I love watching the games so much, I was always having in the back of my mind, like, all these people died for this to happen. How is this even allowed? Why did this take place? It's just really horrible to see, and so I think FIFA should really consider more and have more qualifications need there for countries to host the World Cup in the future.
You know, some really interesting points from both of you guys. I want to go back to your topic about the WNBA, and I think it is time for people to start investing in the WNBA. Obviously, the funds are a little bit low, especially for, WNBA, but also women's professional sports across the board. I followed a little bit of women's hockey that's starting to come up in the professional ranks, but it's time for people to start investing, I think, into those leagues, expand the teams, as you said, letting more people from the United States play in those leagues instead of going overseas. So I think, Bethany, you brought a great point up.
Thank you.
You're not going to talk about the migrant workers dying? Really? Well, this is a serious issue.
Well, I wanted to go to Bethany's point first, but I think, you made a great point as well in your final take.
I also got to say that number, that's just from mid-2020, and not all groups of people were counted. So really, it's just terrible. It's the whole
That's it from us here. Tune in next week, same time, same place for Sports Talk in the Burgh.